we've been taught this, and it's been regurgitated so many times that people actually think it's true. Had to move around the house. I heard Kratz's comments, big league agent, minor league Wi-Fi. The one thing I'll say,
Ooh.
I did
Smart.
Ricciardi's show, and I didn't have any issue. So I don't know.
JP Ricciardi's show.
Yes,
He gives you better Wi-Fi.
apparently, I don't know.
That's because you did deals with him. We haven't done deals with you,
Yeah,
but
you guys are connected at the hip.
yeah, exactly. But before we start, Jeff, why don't you tell AJ maybe something nice or something not nice that you heard from Buehrle over your years, because those two were
Well,
buddies.
I can tell you one thing, and this isn't just because on the show. I'm a huge fan of AJ Przinsky. He was I never knew AJ, but he brought it every day. He was, you know how you're in the day now where you have all these orchestrated entertainments, the dugout celebrations, all that sort of thing. AJ was about as authentic and as tough and played every day. And I represented a ton of White Sox at that time. At Buehrle, Danks, Peavy, who else? Carlos Quentin, Josh Fields, all those guys. And AJ was one of my favorite players ever to watch. And I played briefly 1 year in the minor leagues. I was a fifth-year senior sign, and I was a catcher. So I appreciated how much he brought it like every day. And my favorite thing, AJ, I don't know if you even noticed you would do it, but like a pitcher would throw a bad pitch, he would hop it in the dirt, and most catchers just toss the ball off to the side. You would like snarl and like spike it behind your back towards the ball boy.
Yeah, or if they didn't bounce it, I would throw it back to them harder than they would throw it to me. So guys would get a little angry at that sometimes. So I appreciate the kind words, Jeff, but I'm sorry, we have met each other a few times. So the fact that
Yeah.
you say you don't know me, I mean, that kind
No,
of hurts
you
my
never.
heart a little bit,
You
because
weren't.
we've actually
You
met a
weren't
lot of times.
overly like effusive whenever we met. The one time we met was he hated the Buster Posey rule.
Oh, we're going to
And
get into that.
no, I know, but I want to. The thing of it is, one, you guys and Kratz too. Joe Blanton mentioned you to me, and Kratz was such a massive man. I remember asking him, "Who's Kratz?" He goes, "I don't know. I love throwing to him though. He's so big. It's like throwing to a sofa, and I think everything I throw is going to be a strike because he's so big relative to the plate." And
I like
he
that.
said he would also, it's towards the end of my Philly time, I wasn't throwing as hard. He said Kratz was the type of guy that if I didn't have anything, he would throw the ball back harder at me than I was throwing it into the catcher. So he was a big fan. And the one AJ story I will tell you guys, Mark Buehrle, one of my first clients. I practically owe my career to him, really, and just a wonderful dude. He was AJ and Mark went on some tour of I don't know, one of the barnstorming things in Japan, right? And Mark, legendarily, everybody, I think most people know this, he never shook off a sign his whole major league career, right? And the one time he did, he was playing in an exhibition game against Japan. AJ was catching. Mark shook off the sign, and Godzilla Matsui hit one through Mark's shoulder. And that was the one and only time he ever shook anybody off.
True. That is so true. And I still wore him out about that all the time. Or, yeah, because we're in Japan. He's like, "Oh, I'll never shake you. I'll put down whatever you want." And I put down something, and he's like, "Nope." And I think he threw a changeup. And yeah, he almost killed Mark. But Mark got vacation the rest of the way. So I don't think Mark was.
No, he loved it.
Yeah, he was like, "Oh, man, I get 12 more days in Japan without having to pitch. This is amazing." Yeah. And then the only other time he shook me off, Jeff, was it would be like 3-0. And he'd shake me off just to say he did it. And I'm like, there was times with him with 3-0, I just wouldn't even give a sign. I'd just be like, "Just throw it, dude." And he'd be like, "Nope." And I'm like, "Just throw the ball, please. Thank you."
It didn't take long for him in between pitches. One of the most fearless guys I've ever seen take the mound.
Yes, no doubt.
So,
But the worst stuff you've ever seen.
See, I think that's where you're wrong. You know why? Because I remember years ago, Theo Epstein's like, "Hey, we've got this new thing called tunneling, and it's like top secret and all this stuff." I mean, and I told Theo, you mean like Mark Buehrle, where you throw 4 pitches from the exact same spot and no one knows which it is? that's what was so effective about him. There's a million guys that throw hard. There aren't a million guys that can throw 4 pitches in any count and all look the same coming out of his hand. So that's where I think the stuff part of it was so, I don't know, where he was dominant. I mean, he won 214 games.
Well, his stuff wasn't great, but his tunneling was great. Okay, and his balls, his courage was above average. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
Okay, so Jeff, I want to actually start with something that you brought up to me when we spoke before the show, which was an interview that we did with Rhys Hoskins that you were watching. Yep. It was probably a couple months back, and it sparked some ideas. So why don't you send them to Kratz and AJ, and you can see what they say.
I had to move all my paperwork, so forgive me when I had to get to the other spot. But yeah, it was an April 9th episode. You guys have Rhys Hoskins on. And I'm listening to the show, and he's going on and on. He's with the Brewers, the free agent market, this or that. And Hoskins, during the interview, said, I was surprised to see Corbin go. But in order to have success here in a smaller market, these are the type of moves that have to happen. And I listened to that, and I'm like, what are you talking about? Corbin Burnes was making $15 million on a one-year deal. Every team in baseball can afford it, but this goes to what I want to talk about here is these efficiency mindsets over a growth and winning mindset. And it's perpetuated by the media. You guys included when you were kind of an echo chamber. Rhys Hoskins, I don't think believes that, but we've been taught this and it's been regurgitated so many times that people actually think it's true. Ken Rosenthal, the Hall of Famer that is, part of your foul territory team, wrote an article, Why the Brewers Had to Trade Corbin Burnes. And I'm looking at this article, and you guys realize, like, all right, we have to trade Corbin Burnes. Ken Rosenthal tells you the Brewers had to. And the reality of it was they signed Jackson Chourio to $82 million guaranteed when he'd never played a day in the big leagues. They signed Rhys, who had missed a year and a half, 2 years, 34. But those are like efficiency signings. Jackson Chourio, it's the front office jargon of, surplus value and, the opportunity for a front office to intellectually flex. And, as it was going on in Ken's article, it says, let me relate a conversation I had with an NL Central executive. The executive conceded that if the Brewers kept Burnes, they again would be a force in the National League Central in 24. But he said he actually hoped they held on to him, believing it would compromise them greatly long term. And I'm like, what? How is this? That might have been one of the dumbest things I've ever read in my entire life. And the reason I say that is Corbin Burnes is one of the best 1, 2, or 3 pitchers in the world, right? They don't walk through the door very often. And they say they have to trade him. So whoever they trade him for is the key to the Brewers' long-term success. I just don't buy that. And more so, the Brewers, the Wisconsin taxpayers just gave the over $500 million, $500 million for stadium renovations. Someone can't figure out that no, Joey Ortiz and DL Hall are not going to replace Corbin Burnes. So, and if you win the World Series, what does that do for the franchise? And I ask you guys the question is, do the Brewers have a better chance of winning the World Series with Corbin Burnes or without him?
I mean, you always think with him, but how do we as a media outlet like you called us bring the honesty and the what should happen? Because I know you're looking at it from a financial money standpoint. How do we change the narrative in the sense that I'm all about winning? I could care less about how much money or no money owners pay. But how do we bring it honestly that an owner who has the least amount of assets of any of the ownerships, because it seems like it's just easy fodder to say, okay, well, Guggenheim has $327 million and $1 billion in assets. Well, Antanasio doesn't have as much. How do we change that narrative together as a group so that baseball can be more competitive, which Max Scherzer was just talking about?
Yeah, I think you have the attitude of a growth mindset over an efficiency mindset. this whole front office idea of efficiency, and I've talked about this before with Moneyball, or that, front offices are stars. Front offices aren't stars any more than agents are. We're all schleps that serve at the greatness of AJ Przinsky, guys that can play in the big leagues for 20 years. The Eric Kratzes, the players that are the true show. It's not the intellect of front offices that is the reason you win. I've heard AJ like bemoan the White Sox and player development. And, one of the questions I'd had for AJ, who developed you, AJ?
Twins, Minnesota Twins. That's who did, not the White Sox.
Right. But the White Sox, did they develop Buehrle?
They did, but that was 30 years ago.
No. All right. Did they? All right. So here's another one. That's what I'll give you something 2 months ago. Did they develop Garrett Crochet?
Not really. I mean, he was in minor leagues for about a month, and then he was there. So Tennessee really developed him.
But Tennessee didn't develop him. AJ, he barely pitched at Tennessee. I represented
he also hasn't
him in the
pitched.
draft.
He also hasn't pitched in 4 years. So it's kind of like, yeah. I mean, no, I get what you're saying. Nice thumbs up too. I get what you're saying as far as that goes. But yeah, I mean, yeah. But again, when I say that they don't develop guys, here's my point. Garrett Crochet was what pick? What number pick was he?
11.
Is he not supposed to be a good player?
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more if you pick the right guys.
Okay. Now, where's the guy that was picked in the 12th round that they've developed? Give me that one, Jeff.
I don't know enough. I don't watch the White Sox now like I used to when you were there. But the point of it is,
there isn't that guy.
But you're missing the point. I think the key is the draft, and development is one thing we see a lot of. And again, it's so front offices and regimes can show their value. The development, I'm all for player development, promoting guys, this or that. But I look back and, the Rays are constantly they're the bellwether for efficiency, how you want to run an organization. And they've never won a World Series. They play in an empty stadium. And I don't know whose jersey you would wear if you go to a Rays game. The Giants won 3 World Series in 5 years. Not one person out of their entire organization in a sold-out ballpark for a decade, not one person was ever hired by another organization out of that. If you get coffee with the Rays, you're a GM somewhere. So to me, it's you have to get the great players. Do you coach them up along the way? Absolutely. Do you? But the key is getting the right guys in your organization, to begin with, because there is no secret sauce that made AJ Przinsky a great player for 20 years. A lot of that was great coaching that you had along the way, things you let go in one ear, out the other. But a lot of that was your doing, not the greatness or the intellect of a front office.
Yeah, but you have to put people in positions, right? You have to give people the resources. So to say that, I kind of disagree.
Tell me what resources
you have to have the right coaches with the right people. So when I was with the Twins, we had great coaches. We had John Russell, right, who played in the big leagues for a long time. He managed me for like 3 or 4 years. He taught me a lot about catching, how to handle pitchers, right? So then I had, pitching coaches, hitting coaches that actually played. I know that's, taboo these days.
You can't. Yeah, that is taboo.
That guys actually played and have been through that and stood in the batter's box. So they helped, right? So when you're in the lower, and I think the lower levels are even more important than the higher levels.
I agree.
Because you have to put the fundamentals down to get to the move up. And the Twins, listen, they didn't rush anybody. You had to go. They weren't like, oh, you're half a year, you did 2 weeks straight, you're going to the next level. I mean, they're like, oh, you did 2 weeks straight. Let's see you fail for 2 weeks and then come back from it. Then we'll think about moving you. So it was complete. And they wanted to win in the minor leagues, and they wanted you to be able to do the fundamentals. If you couldn't do a hit and run, if you couldn't bunt, if you couldn't hit the cutoff man, Tom Kelly, right. It was different. I get it. It was like, yeah, nope, you're never going to play here. So there was different things. It was a different mindset. Whereas now it's let's hurry up and get him there because he's cheap.
Well, and I think the cheapness aspect, and we can go into that, is that the development in the minor leagues, I think, that's an interesting topic as well. Baseball America talked about how bad the minor leagues are. That's like the equivalent of McDonald's telling you hamburgers are no good. When I saw that, I was like, wow, I haven't seen a minor league game in a minute, but that can't be a good sign. So I think it all goes back to me, AJ, for, the Phillies have a growth mindset. They're not, their interest is they were panned for signing Schwarber and Castellanos, right? But those guys have been a big part. And the reality is, for me, the Brewers had a chance with Corbin Burnes to have one of the best pitchers in the world. You're only paying him at a vastly discounted rate of $15 million because he's not yet a free agent. You have a much better chance to win the World Series with him. There's no argument that anyone could make to me that it's a good idea for the betterment of that franchise. If you win the World Series, that's what's great for the franchise. I was with Doug Melvin, I don't know, 2 months ago. I had dinner with him. I live in Florida. He lives in the Lakewood Ranch area as well. And, he was a GM for 20-something years. He said, hands down, the greatest move he ever made was trading for 2 months of CC Sabathia. He felt like that changed the entirety of like the mindset, put the Brewers on a path to be like, no, we're going to compete here. And they gave up Michael Brantley for that. There's no front office now that would say, oh, no, that was a good move. And yet a borderline Hall of Fame GM told me it was the best move of his career.
Yeah, I love that. That makes sense. I mean, even, for the Cubs, that storyline will forever be remembered. And Chapman had his ups and downs, but they needed him. And at the time, they're like, oh, you're going to trade Glaber? Yeah, it's fine. We're going for a World Series. So let me kind of broaden this to – go ahead.
No, but the thing of it is, guys, all this math, my whole thing, when I left the agent business, it was because I wasn't able to make enough of a difference in what I thought. I watched Josh Hader and Real Mutos play out in arbitration. I watched them then have no one. AJ, I had JT Real Muto and Kratz, the best catcher in the world, and it's not even close. And it's January, and we have 0 offers. I mean, none. People should have been lined up down my block, sending like chocolates and cookies to my house just for the chance to talk about JT Real Muto. And not a single person was. And to me, that's the proliferation of this efficiency mindset. It's how front offices justify, I don't know, their starring role when it's not about them. It's about getting the best players. And, that was something I couldn't be a part of anymore.
All right, Jeff, how do we fix it though? I mean, as an agent, you can't force teams to sign guys, right? And they're just
no. But you know what you do? I do it the same way, and this is the thing, because I know you guys don't like the Posey rule, but you guys are difference makers. You and Kratz, and Scott Braun. Scott Braun took a ton of courage. You leave your cushy job with MLB Network. You obviously still have time to work out, and you start this whole business, right? No, Scott does have time to work out. Look at him, boys. But the point of it is it took courage to make that move. You guys with the media are difference makers. And you see it in politics. You see it in business. You see it like AJ Pierzynski and Eric Kratz. You guys could help rewrite the direction of baseball with a powerful media presence. I believe that fully. And the reason I say that is we go back to the Posey rule. I didn't write the Posey rule. The only thing I did was I took it away from Major League Baseball and put it in the union and everything else, and I put it in the public sphere. From there, it kind of took off, and people made their own judgments. I obviously had the interest of, I don't want to see guys carted off the field, the Buster being one of them. And I thought it was a senseless play that, had long outlived whatever. So agree or disagree, but it was the power of the media that made that change.
All right, Jeff, I hope you got a nice cup of coffee or something in between here so we can dig into this a little bit.
I got more than that, so let's roll.
Okay. Hopefully you got your Teza. Hopefully you got your Teza puck and your Teza pouch in. Okay. Because listen, all right, this is one of the worst things. It's tea. It's tea. It's like
it's for baseball purposes, Jeff. Instead of all the crap dip that's gone on in our game for years, no tobacco, no nicotine, the whole deal. So we're big supporters of this company. They've taken off.
I am too. I wish I could. Yeah. I have my nicotine lozenges here, AJ. I'm going to try the tea.
This is the next step.
And buy the foul territory puck. See it?
Yeah. I'll send you a link.
So you guys are selling stuff too?
Oh, heck
yeah, of course.
This company in particular. Yeah. So, all right. Anyway, go ahead, JJ.
All right. So, anyway, Jeff, I hope you got your teas in. All right. So, when this rule came out, I thought it was the dumbest rule of all time. Okay.
You told me that in person.
And one of the best things that I look forward to more than anything is plays at the plate. Now, listen,
Yep.
I got run over more than anybody probably did. I mean, but I'll say this: one of the first times when I kind of earned my stripes as a big leaguer, 2000, next to last game of the year, we're in Detroit. Fly ball to right field. Right fielder comes up, a winning run, walk off in bottom of the ninth, tie game. Play at the plate. Brad Ausmus blows me up. Right, I mean, blows me up. He's out. I got to go in the dugout, and we literally don't even. We stop the game. They put like stitches in my chin. I come back out. The next guy gets a hit. Of course, we lose the next hitter. Right. But I went into the locker room, and the guys were like, "Okay, we see you." Like that. That was kind of like my all right, you fit in now moment, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, cool. And then over the years, I got run over plenty of times. I got hit. I never got hurt, right? Because I was taught how to do it properly. And so one of the things that I always said is if you do it properly, you can take hits from whoever you want to take, from the fastest guy, the slowest guy, the strongest guy, but you need to know how to do it properly. I don't think it was taught properly. The reason Buster got hurt, and I never wanted to see Buster get hurt, I think he's a great guy, except for he went to Florida State, is the fact that he was in a bad position, right? He was in a bad position. He got caught in a bad position. And what was his name? Scott Cousins, the guy who ran him over.
Scott Cousins, yeah.
Like that poor guy, man, he lost his career because of it, right?
Absolutely.
And he just did what we were taught to do back then. And I feel
more.
bad. And I feel bad for Buster that he got hurt. You never want to see guys get hurt. You want to see the best players play. But then for them to change a rule because of this, that's why I always called it the Buster Posey rule. Because if it would have happened to me, nobody would have been like, oh, it's fine, Przinski or whatever. But because it happened in San Francisco, and then you made such a big stink about it, then they took it away. And now we lost that element of the game. Like, I mean, listen, say what you want about what happened with me and Michael Barrett, but if this rule's in place, that whole fight thing never takes place, right? Because I don't run him over. I slide in. I'm safe. Everyone's like, yoo-hoo, way to go. But now that moment is forever. Ray Fosse and Pete Rose, right? That moment, right? There's a lot of these moments that are like, oh, damn, look at that. Did you see that? And it's like, oh, man, there's like action. And then we went and took away second base. The take out the guy at second base, right?
Yeah.
So you know what, Jeff?
Which was just a furtherance of the Posey rule.
Yes, I blame you.
Yep. Yeah.
So
and you know what? I'll fully take the blame. And I'll tell you one thing, too. AJ, with or without the rule, with or without the collision at home plate, you were a badass either way. I don't know if I know this isn't a bro show anymore, and you guys got your hats on backwards and stuff like that, but I don't know if I can say that. But you were already the toughest guy on the field because you're behind the plate. My whole thing and I don't think Buster was in a bad position. I did like a breakdown of it only happens. You're only like truly vulnerable on the plate of the right side where you can't see anything, right? So Posey set up Cousins, and it wasn't a dirty play by Cousins. Cousins did what we were all taught to do. And I think I said, you guys, I played college baseball and then signed as a free agent. I remember going to the minor leagues, and I would catch on Sundays, hit like 150, and played 1 year in the Florida State League before scurrying off to law school. And I remember it was like a badge of honor to hunt catchers, right? Like, oh, you're not in college anymore. You're not in high school. No, this is pro ball. If you have an opportunity to hunt the catcher, you hunt him. You think that's an accurate statement?
100%.
Right. And I thought
like I said, I've been blown up many minor leagues up.
So have I. And I've blown guys up. And I don't know if anybody would ever attempt to blow up Kratz, but that's another story beside itself. Is Posey couldn't see anything. There wasn't another. And yes, it became such a national story because it was Buster Posey, one of the best players of his generation. I think a first ballot Hall of Famer, all those sort of things. But there wasn't another sport in the world where I could see where a grown man can run unencumbered in a straight line for 90 feet and hit you full speed where you can see nothing. And to me, I thought it was unnecessary. It's not good for the organization for the 2 minutes or the thrill. And I loved when you and Barrett punched in the face and you had your WWE like act going on in the dugout where you like, that was awesome for baseball. But I don't think it was worth, if AJ Przinski's career got ended early, that ain't a good thing either. And I don't think it's necessary.
Not necessary or just not advantageous in the moment. I think, to me, I get 100 to 140 at-bats in a season.
Yep.
And I don't have 70 homers and 140 at bats, or I would be getting 700 at bats in a season.
Right.
So I don't have ways that I can affect the game. The next year, right before Buster got his 8 years, 160 million, he was doing the swipe tag. He was doing that. He had made his choice to not block home plate.
Because he was a dude.
That's like somebody, exactly, because he's got to be out there for his 700 at bats. I got this rule taken away, an advantage that I had over Buster Posey, over Yadier Molina, and I got hit by Prince Fielder. I didn't fall down. He did. I got hit by Chipper Jones. I got hit by Tyler Moore. I got hit by guys because I was willing to be in the way for my team, willing to put my career on the line for that win. And that win people may not remember it. Maybe Pirates fans remember Prince Fielder trying to run me over. Phillies fans remember Chipper Jones running me over. And it was big moments in the game because I'm playing catcher and I'm choosing to be in that line. Buster Posey is going to be a Hall of Famer because of what he did behind the dish, but more because of what he did at the plate. So he makes a choice, and I felt like this rule crushed a lot of my value as a player, and that's why I voted against it when I was on the panel.
Yep.
And as everything else in Major League Baseball didn't listen, and I couldn't agree more with what AJ said. I had Ernie Witt and Sal Fasano teach me how to block home plate, and I was very fortunate. The times I got run over, only one time I got a sprained ankle. Who gets a sprained ankle when somebody rolls over the plate? Not a broken ankle, so it was just a freak thing, but I was very fortunate that I stayed safe and healthy through that. But to me, this rule is exactly what I think in a more of a macro level, what goes on in Major League Baseball. Let's save the superstars and diminish the value of the underlings, which I was always an underling. I'll never deny.
Well, and the thing of it is, and this, I have more respect for you. You're a 29th round pick out of Mennonite College. I'd never even heard of the college.
It was a university. We had degrees and everything and uniforms.
No, but the thing of it is, like, see, AJ grew up playing travel ball and in Florida, knew how to wear all his gear and stuff like that. You were probably hitting with work gloves in some mountain Virginia town. And like, because you know how Florida kids are, Kratz. You know that when you see like, that, even if they're not any good, they act like they're good. They can dress like they're good. It's where they're from. It's like Canadian hockey players.
Look good, feel good, play good, Jeff. You should try it.
Believe me, I was not good enough to do that. But the point of it is, and this is like, I have more respect for both you guys than you could ever possibly imagine, because I know what you both have accomplished in different ways. Kratz, you made your big league debut at 30 years old, coming from nowhere. Frankly, today, I know I wouldn't have ever had a chance to even play a little bit. You probably wouldn't be drafted today. And which is, again, the efficiency over the growth mindset. Baseball would be worse off if you hadn't been involved in it the last 20 years. And so I look at when you talk about this rule, and the fact of the matter is you talk about the underlings. Stars are what move the game, and I firmly believe that. And it's I don't like that you felt that hurt the value of your career. But the point I was trying to make with the Posey rule, I believe in it wholeheartedly. I'll take it to my grave. I haven't seen anybody carted off the field yet. I sent Scott Braun the Girolamo collision, the kid from University of Florida. To me, it was an unnecessary part of the game. I wanted to protect catchers, but I will tell you this, as almost every single catcher, AJ was one of the first people to even get after me on this. I think I was seeing the White Sox or whatever. AJ went out of his way to tell me how stupid that was and how stupid I was. And I respected it.
Feelings haven't changed. Well, the stupid part, maybe. The stupid rule. The stupid you is just me being angry.
Yeah, right. And I get it. But the thing of it is, you're not unique to this. JT Realmuto, he was like a young buck stud, like 19-year-old at the time. Brian Schneider, another guy you guys probably love. He's in your fraternity of longtime major league catchers, was a client. Mm-hmm. He hated it. He like aired me out on it. And my point on any of this, whether you agree or disagree, I'm always going to take it as one of my proudest accomplishments, at least putting it out in the public sphere. But the reason I wanted to have this conversation was understand the power of the media. That wasn't horse traded in the back rooms of, you know, collective bargaining. It was put out in the media, and then that had the impact to put the conversation on a public scale. And I think that's what you guys have the power to do. And that's when I heard, the Reese Hoskins interview. I'm like, that's just not true. The organization's team, that why the Brewers had to trade Corbin Burns. If anything, Brewers fans should like storm the castle and say, look, we had a chance to win the World Series this year. And you guys dealt it away for Joey Ortiz and DL Hall. Why? And I will tell you this, no one's math is that good to know what's going to happen 5 years from now. We can talk about process. We can talk, we've done our work, all this or that. It's just not true. It is, and my whole thing in the media, I want to be the boy at the parade yelling, look, the emperor has no clothes on this.
Hey, Jeff, we got time for one more topic, okay? And it's super fresh. I wanted to ask you about it anyway, but it came out, I think, while we were on. Christy Ackert, who does a great job covering, I think, mostly the Rays with the Tampa Bay Times, said they were reportedly, the Rays, willing to talk to Aaron Judge about a deal of around 10 years and $300 million. Obviously, the Rays are playing the Yankees right now, and I haven't been able to read so many specifics on the story. Our fans are always on top of all of this, throwing it out there as well, and I looked it up. This is in the Tampa Bay Times. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on that whole process and where we're at on stars, right? Like you and I have spoken in the past about the Red Sox not bringing back Mookie Betts, and like they're playing better this year, but nobody knows, who most of these players are. There's been a lot of turnover for them, but your thoughts on that Judge news, like if you even buy it, because it's very convenient for the Rays to put it out there.
The thing of it is, then do it. Like to talk about it after, it's the same. Oh, well, when I used to play this or that, then do it. Make it real. The whole idea on the Royals, for example, this offseason, they spent $105 million, right? Around that. Acquired a bunch of free agents. No one is talking foul territory. Why aren't you guys lauding J.J. Picola for being the smartest man in baseball? All of their analysts did a ton of work on Seth Lugo and, the guys they brought in, and they knew how great he was going to be. Why isn't JJ being lauded like the Red Sox are being lauded for their pitch selection? It's more a question for you guys.
Trust me, we did. We've had JJ on. We did. We've said nothing but how happy we were for the Royals, right, Kratz?
No, but happy with the Royals, but they signed Lugo. It wasn't because he doesn't fit the mode. JJ actually played. JJ and I are about the same age. I think he played like at James Madison, this or that. He came up through scouting, player development, all that. The Royals aren't lauded as this exceptionally intellectual front office. I was talking to a former GM, and it's kind of funny. I've done a bunch of podcasts with Olney, with JP, with different media, and again, just trying to be a disruptive voice of common sense in areas that I think the game can be better. And it was funny. I was talking to a former GM, and I said, well, what about what the Royals are doing? And he goes, all they did was spend money. And I'm like, that's not true. They spent the same amount of money. The Red Sox spent the same amount of money on Ceddanne Rafaela and Brayan Bello, who they had 11 club options on between the two of them. They spent the same amount on them as the Royals spent on free agents this offseason. So, the money's the money, but signing these guys to early extensions, that's a safe place for GMs. You can I don't know, you get a pat on the head for, all right, good job, way to build our surplus value. And it's like, I don't know, Tommy Pham was available for free and nobody was jumping on his door. Jack Flaherty was available for free. Those guys are begging for jobs. The Royals were aggressive early on in the offseason. They were the only team, and AJ and Kratz, I don't know, you guys kind of missed maybe that window of what the game has evolved into. That was the only meeting I had at the winter meetings. Otherwise, I was like watching No Country for Old Men, and what else? I watched it twice. That's what I did at the winter meetings. And I had one team, and it was the Royals, that said, we want to sign these guys. We're not waiting. And they go. And it's like, that's the only proactive. Instead, teams feel like they sit back and wait And I heard you say it, AJ. No, they're just getting smarter. I think they're getting dumber by the day. And I think the Royals showed it this offseason.
Well,
All right,
Jeff,
hold on,
oh, go
Scott.
ahead,
Before you
AJ.
go, no, I just have to
Yeah,
say
go
this.
ahead.
I said they're getting smarter because they cave. The players eventually cave, right? That's how they're getting smarter. They think they're getting smarter by I'm not saying they're smarter because they wait. I think they're dumber for waiting, but they're smarter because they say, "Oh, we can just wait, and a player will eventually take less," right? So that's how they got smarter, not how they're getting.
Okay.
I don't think they're smarter at all. I think they're
Point
dumber
taken.
because they
But
don't go
I'm
get their
telling you
players.
this: baseball, the game. I've said this publicly before. I think Rob Manfred should go in the Hall of Fame for one thing, and that's the pitch clock. He unilaterally implemented it. I know, Scott, we've had conversations about that. You don't necessarily agree, but baseball is a very watchable product. We have 190 dates of 4-hour blocks of live content. Baseball should be the most valuable sport, at least in this country and Japan, everywhere else. And I think we're on the precipice of something great. But what I believe needs to change is a growth mindset over an efficiency mindset. Front offices are lauded for their intellect, and all the keyboard warriors out there. Oh, the Tigers are in a new day. We signed Colton Keefe for $30 million. He's never played above AA. Big deal. No one's math is that good that you know. And my question to you, Kratz and AJ, if the three of us owned a team, do we want to pay our star player, if he becomes a superstar, do we want to pay him pennies on the dollar? I don't. I think when people talk about culture, I think that's horrible for culture. I brag about the San Francisco Giants and what they did. I did a $127 million contract for Matt Cain that didn't work out, and I hated that for the Giants. But, I think that contract, again, it's nickels in the sofa relative to what that organization did. And I think the worst contract the Giants ever did was paying Madison Bumgarner pennies on the dollar. He should have been a Giant for life. And that underbelly contract created such a rift. That's not good. There's no business in the world. If you have great employees, you want to treat your best employees well. And this efficiency of, oh, well, Dayton Moore, prime example. Do you remember the Salvador Perez contract?
Yep.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Jeff, we got to
It was
jump,
like
but
7 years,
of course.
like $50
$12
or something like that. It was egregious.
Yeah.
Dayton Moore didn't have the stomach to watch a guy go out, saddle up, strap on, give his organization everything, and pay him pennies on the dollar. Even if that's the savvy business move. It's a garbage move. And to tear that up shows the character. That to me is culture. You guys have a limited amount of time. You guys are the difference makers, not front offices. Not, AJ, he threw back at me, oh, that was 25, a century ago. And I don't know, was Don Cooper the best pitching coach ever? I don't know. Was, how they've developed? Yeah, AJ's shaking his head. No, but they had 5 guys throw 200 innings when they won the World Series. And I guess my point is the stars are certainly not the agents. We're servants to the greatness of you guys. Front offices, servants to what goes on in the dugout. And we've lost that to somehow think, oh, no, our math is so good. We're going to outmath you and outsmart you. You know what I'll take? I'll take AJ Przinsky and all of his freaking animalistic characters and send him behind the plate, and I'll have a chance to win.
Yep. Jeff, we got to cut you because we got to jump, but this was great. We'll get you back on, all right? We enjoyed it.
It's already over?
It's way over. Yeah, we'll talk though. We'll bring you back. Appreciate it.
We're having you
right
back because I
FT
have more
fam.
things to yell at you about.
Yeah.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Hey, FT fam on FT YouTube. We are back. And we're here to tell you that we care about our personal daily health and routine. And as you can see, almost every FT show features either AJ, Kratz, or myself in a different location. That means we need to take care of ourselves and have some type of legit routine in our life. So take ownership of your health with AG1. AG1 is a foundational nutrition supplement that delivers daily nutrients and gut health support. And it's backed by multiple research studies, so you can trust what you're putting in your body. How you guys feeling mentally, physically? I know a lot of travel going on for you two right now.
I'm good.
Oh, you're that good? Both of you?
I'm good. I mean, I'm just trying to figure out what time zone I'm in, but other than that, I'm good.
It's true.
I was letting AJ go. I think there's like a routine is super important to me. So like morning routine of getting your AG1. When I went home for a few days, I went home for like 2 or 3 days. I know AJ's like, what's home? He's on the road all the time for the last 3 weeks. But I went home and I forgot to take my AG1 and I was like, something just felt off. So now that I'm back out here on the road, I'm like, yeah, we're good to go. Put it in the shaker, ready to go.
And 97% of people in a research study felt more energy after 30 days of drinking AG1. So we recommend it to support whole body health. It's AG1, and FT still has the promotion running for you, but it is running out soon. So you can start your journey with AG1 by getting a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3K2 and 5 free highly coveted AG1 travel packs with your first purchase at drinkag1.com/Val. That's drinkag1.com/Val. Go check it out, FT fam, and we'll be right back.
Hey, everybody. Be sure to like and subscribe for more content.
We're back here every weekday, all year long, so do not miss an episode.
The videos are coming in all day. Here's another video you might enjoy.
Baseball the way it should be covered.